Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Coping Together. My name is Faith, and I'm your host here from the Mental Health Association of Central Florida. As always, this show is created with the intention of, during this life of COVID-19, we're all impacted, and we're here to, develop coping strategies, wellness tools, and talk about topics related to mental health. So with that being said, I'm very excited to bring back one of our previous guests, Juanita Carbajal with Positive Behavioral Solutions. And we're here today to talk actually about one group who has experienced a tremendous difference in their lives and really a tremendous loss, and that's the class of 2020. So Juanita, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thank you for
Good.
inviting me back.
Absolutely. We loved having you. We're happy to have you back. So today, like I said, you were here on our show about 2 months ago, and we talked a lot about the grief that a lot of people are experiencing due to COVID-19. And in addition to the loss of loved ones, a lot of people are experiencing a loss of normalcy or stability in their lives, whether it was a loss of employment, being furloughed, loss of getting to see your family. A lot of things were shifted, but in particular, the class of 2020, the graduates have had a very different experience. And so I kind of want to start by asking you, what are some of the things that the class of 2020 has lost, whether it's figurative or literal?
Okay. Yes. So grief is basically the emotional response to a loss of anything, which it could be an experience, a huge milestone, or just like those little celebrations that you kind of get together with family or relatives to celebrate a huge accomplishment. In this case, for class of 2020, it was graduation. So graduation was kind of celebrated very differently, not as what people expected or were anticipating, especially for high school students that have spent all of their grade school working hard to graduate, prepared to start college, prepared for the adulthood. So it's definitely hit a lot of our students. And with back to school, the transition from high school to college is not the same or your typical transition as you would see any other year.
Right. So in terms of that transition being kind of like those big events that are supposed to be, like the last time you walk the halls at your high school, or for college students, it's maybe the last time you go to class in person. And also, like we talked about before, like prom. I know my high school had us wear our college shirts to school one day, and that was to rep where you're going to university or what you're doing after you graduate. So is that like kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, like your last year of high school, it brings a lot of closure. Like there's a lot of celebrations, but there's also, those events of yearbook signing. And like you said, everyone kind of celebrating like where they're going, what their plans are after high school, and kind of being able to cherish like those last moments with your classmates. And these are like classmates that you grew up with, like through your neighborhood or in your community. And when you're graduating, you're kind of closing that chapter and preparing for a new chapter, whether it is you're planning to move to a different state, or you're planning to go away for college, or maybe you're joining, some type of vocational program.
Or going way into the military.
Yeah, so there's everyone's path after high school is different. So there's a lot of grief involved, especially adolescents or teens may not think of it as grief. It might look different. It might appear as like anxiety or depression, but there is a lot of grief involved when you lose an experience, or when you lose that time and moment to cherish with your friends and even teachers. Like they didn't even get to say goodbye to some of the teachers that really helped them accomplish several of their goals.
And I think that's an excellent segue into our next question. And my question for you is that I think it's important to also recognize, and correct me if I'm wrong, that parents also have experienced a loss. Parents and caregivers of the class of 2020, especially high schoolers, I feel like they've experienced a loss as well, but it's different from that of the children or of the graduates. Can you maybe elaborate on your thoughts on that?
Yes. Parents usually are the first people to want to celebrate and go on out for any accomplishment their child has especially, high school or being accepted into a program or university. So they really missed out on that. And a lot of also first generation high school students that maybe their parents didn't get the opportunity to graduate from a program or high school, but they want to see and be there for their children. I also recently was made aware that like even parents that either lost a dad or a mom, like sometimes graduation feels like a moment where like they think, oh, well, cut this part out. Um, it's a moment where it's like parents that have lost like a dad or a mom, they're like, this is a moment that your parent is looking down and celebrating with you from afar spiritually sometimes as well. So those are huge milestones that even extended families celebrate. So.
Yeah. And I think you make a really great point, like parents, it's parents or whoever your caregiver is. I think a lot of them will remember, and I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know, but I can only speak from what I've been told from my own parents and other people I know. When you send your child off to preschool or kindergarten, you kind of imagine what it's going to be like when they're walking across the stage, and it's kind of like coming full circle. You got them through the door, and now they're walking out on their own and they're going into their own lives. And so it's definitely a loss in and of itself.
Yeah, every milestone is very important. Like now there's parents missing the milestone of like first day of school. Like a lot of kids aren't getting that experience of going back to school on the first day and dressing up. I mean, a lot of people have opted to choose virtual school, so due to safety concerns, but that whole sending your child into an environment that maybe they haven't experienced and being happy that they'll get to socialize and meet and greet new kids from their community and their school, like that's still also another milestone that parents are missing out on now.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. And so I think that kind of leads me into my last question for you. And again, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you. But for those of us who know someone who was part of the class of 2020, or were their parent, were their sibling, were a friend or a loved one, what can we do for them? Because I think that it's important to recognize that what they're feeling is okay.
So definitely be supportive, acknowledge their emotions, don't undermine or belittle like their feelings and thoughts. I know, or we know that like their last semester of spring, when it's usually like a big moment to celebrate sports, prom, signing your books, sharing like where you're going to school or sharing your plans after high school, like those are moments that they'll probably won't be able to experience because of COVID and how schools were shut down and everyone was kind of in survival mode and not able to meet face to face. Do definitely recommend still celebrating. Like you still want to acknowledge those accomplishments. You still want to celebrate. It may look different. Maybe it's a more intimate celebration with less family, but it's still important. Also, I noticed a lot of the drive-by celebrations. Those were great ways to uplift a lot of classes. Also,
I started one of those for someone.
Yeah, like making posters and doing nice things. Like right now, our community just wants that support, empathy for sure, and just compassion. We need compassion right now.
Right, for sure, understanding that none of us, I mean, we've all said it so many times, these are unprecedented times, an unprecedented situation. So none of us can even really imagine what it would be like to have that taken from us. That's something that I think when you're in high school, when you're a freshman, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to graduate. Or when it finally comes to you, regardless of if you're excited or nervous or whatever, that is an event that's for you. It's intended for your class. So with that being said, thank you so much for giving us some insight kind of onto what's been going on for the class of 2020 and moving forward, how we can all be there for them. So really, thank you just so much for coming on the show again, Juanita. Thank you all to you for watching. If you have any requests for an episode idea, please reach out to us at the Mental Health Association. If you have any questions about anything, please also reach out to us. You can reach out via Facebook, our website, mhacf.org, or give us a call, and we'll include all that information in here. And be sure to check out Positive Behavioral Solutions. Juanita is just one of their many wonderful staff members, and they do so much for the community to give resources to everybody. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.